That one guy's a stud, huh? King?
Call after the, you know.
Those pilots.
I think
Oh, they got them too. They shot them. Those were
what happens thereafter, I don't know.
They sent the helicopter.
shot the pilots once they hit the ground, right? They killed them.
Yeah.
They were shooting up at them as they were down.
Because we've always had a really good.
Had to get fucked up.
Township of Parsippany Troy Hills, regular Township Council meeting of November 24th, 2015.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided in accordance with the requirements of the Open Public Meetings Law by filing the notice in the office of the Township Clerk and by posting the meeting notice on the bulletin board at the Municipal Building on January 8, 2015, where it has remained posted since that date. A legal notice appeared in the Daily Record on January 12, 2015, and in the Star Ledger on January 14, 2015, and was forwarded by fax and other local newspapers and the local radio stations on January 8, 2015. Note, council meetings are videotaped and aired on Cablevision, Public Access Channel 21, at 11 o'clock a.m. on Sundays, and are also available for viewing at www.parsippany.net.
Okay, please rise for the flag salute. Mr. DePiero, if you would.
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mr. DiPiero.
Here.
Mr. Paluso.
Present.
Mr. Stanton.
Here.
Mr. Valori.
Here.
Council President Karifi.
Here. Also present, Mayor James R. Barbario, L&M Sandman, Business Administrator, Paula Cazzarelli, Assistant Business Administrator, John Inglesino, Esquire, Township Attorney, and Nora Jolie, Deputy Registrar. Upcoming meetings, December 8th, 2015 at 7:30 p.m. Agenda meeting. December 15th, 2015 at 7:30 p.m. Regular meeting. Discussions. Jane? This will be a discussion on the Lake Hiawatha Library renovation architect. No, it's okay.
No.
Okay. This is shocking. Okay.
They don't want to see me anyway.
Oh, okay. I wanted to let you know that the library board interviewed 4 architectural firms, and we chose Buell, Kratzer, and Powell. They're library architects. They're based in Philadelphia, but they've done several library projects. They just completed a branch for the West Wildwood system. They've done Franklin Lakes. They did West Milford before their referendum was defeated. So they do have a lot of library experience. So what they did last week, and I know all of you were at the League, unfortunately, the same day that the architects scheduled their focus groups. But they met with citizen group, the staff group, and parents of young children to get some input on what they would like to see at the Lake Hiawatha branch. So that went very well, and we had some really great ideas. But I have to assure you that, you know, a town our size has 3 library branches, and we're very fortunate. But those branches are heavily used, and the people in Lake Hiawatha really depend on their library branch. They want to use it not just to borrow materials, but for community groups to meet, for people to study, for teams to get together and do group projects. So your money will be very well spent. So I thank you for that, the money that you agreed to bond. The other thing I wanted to bring to your attention is there is a construction bond grant fund that's pending in the State Assembly and Senate. And they're looking for municipal officials to back this. If you remember, our main library was funded with a matching grant from the township and from the state through a state bond grant fund. So they're trying to get this reinstated so that people can move forward with their projects. The other thing I wanted to caution you about is when we came to you and requested the 1.5 million, we were basing that on a study that was done in 2010. Now that the architects started to look at things, it appears you have some ideas for what you'd like to see at the Light Hiawatha Library. I was speaking on behalf of the library board, Dr. Weisberg as our president, and suggesting that if you have any ideas, we'd be thrilled to hear them. Okay? But I want you to know that that branch is very heavily used now. I can only imagine what it'll be like when we get it renovated, when there'll be a lot of space for people to use it. The other thing is, people who are new to our community often go to the library. That's where they get all their information for how they go about doing things here, especially for the kids. You know, we take for granted we all know how to sign up for the soccer club, you know, like how to sign your child up for the teams. People who are new to town don't know those kind of things. They don't know about PAL. They don't know about a lot of services offered. And the library does provide that connection to the community. All right, so thanks for listening. Would you like to say something? Okay, wow.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to add that.
Oh, wait a minute, no,
We
no,
knew
no.
you had to
no.
say something.
Best run library system in the entire area,
Absolutely.
and it's her responsibility, and she did it. Got the best director you've ever seen.
Nice.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's funny.
Okay, at this time, we're going to be going into closed session. Closed session resolution, whereas the Open Publics Meeting Act, Public Law 1975, Chapter 231, permits the exclusion of the public from a meeting in certain circumstances, and whereas the Township Council is of the opinion that such circumstances presently exist, and whereas the Township Council wishes to discuss contract negotiations regarding UPS, contract negotiations regarding Joseph F. Beckmeyer Consultants, LLC, and litigation on Mount Laurel Affordable Housing and RD Realty. And whereas minutes will be kept, and once the matter involving the confidentiality of the above no longer requires confidentiality, the minutes can be made public. Now therefore be it resolved by the Township Council of the Township Parsippany Troy Hills that the public be excluded from this meeting. Motion to adjourn made by myself, seconded by Mr. Stanton. Roll call.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Paluso.
Yes.
Mr. Stanton. Mr. Valori.
Yes.
Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
They're a grant writing group, so I'm gonna try to get a meeting with you.
Okay.
Well, hey. Oh, yeah. Oh, no. No, are you kidding? I fight the fight now, not. Yeah. You're good.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Make a motion to reconvene into open session?
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Stanton, seconded by Mr. Paluso. Roll call.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Paluso.
Yes.
Mr. Stanton.
Yes.
Mr. Valori.
Yes.
Mr. Karifi.
Yes. Bids to be taken, none. Requests for quotations, proposals, qualifications, none. Ordinance second reading and public hearing, none. Mr. Stanton?
Okay, before I read the consent agenda, I'd like to make a motion, R 2015-169, that we add, to make a motion to amend it, to make it a one-year contract.
Second.
Motion made by
Second.
Mr. Stanton, seconded by Mr. Valori. Roll call.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Paluso.
Yes.
Mr. Stanton.
Yes.
Mr. Sorry. Mr. Cruz.
Yes.
Mr. Karifi.
And I was a yes, too. I'm sorry.
Sorry, Mr. Valori.
Doing a great
Consent
job.
agenda, be it resolved, all items listed with an asterisk are considered to be routine, non-controversial by the Township Council, be approved by one motion. There'll be no separate discussion on these items unless a council member so requests, which case the item be removed from the consent agenda, considered in its normal sequence on the agenda.
Motion made by Mr. Stanton,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Paluso. Roll call.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Paluso.
Yes.
Mr. Stanton.
Yes.
Mr. Valori.
Yes.
Mr. Karifi.
Yes. Township office reports? Anything? No.
No, yes, a very positive thing. We've talked for a very long time, long before I even got here. We had the update from James Walsh with regard to Smithfield, and I'm pleased to say that it started, and it's going to be, we're starting to do it, and it's being, we had our first complete day today, and they did a lot of work on it already. Very
Ellen, just a
noticeable.
quick follow-up.
Yes.
That's great news.
Yes.
What do you think is the tentative date to have it actually fully completed?
I actually,
Never
I
happens.
actually had a conversation with him,
Yeah.
and he stated
Yeah.
that depending on the weather.
Yes,
Okay.
it's the weather,
If
yeah.
the winter, if they're able to work a lot through the winter, that it would be completed by maybe April or May.
That's pretty.
So,
good.
Ellen, you
Yeah.
tell us May it's going to be done.
It will be done
Great,
in May.
thank you.
I'm not saying what year.
Council President, I just want to add to the office reports. Councilman Valori and myself have been interviewing candidates for the clerk position. We have updated the administration on that as well. We've completed our rounds of telephone interviews, and we are conducting our in-person interviews. We should have a determination shortly.
Thank you. Okay, ordinance 2015:27, Mr. DePiero.
Ordinance 2015:27, an ordinance establishing hourly wage ranges for blue-collar, rank-and-file employees of the Township of Parsippany Troy Hills, 2015 through 2018. Be it resolved that the above ordinance be introduced, read by title, and passed on first reading at a meeting of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany Troy Hills to be held on November 24th, 2015, and that said ordinance be further considered for second reading and final passage at a meeting to be held on December 15th, 2015 at 7:30 p.m. prevailing time, or as soon thereafter as the matter may be reached at the municipal building in said township, at which time all persons interested shall be given an opportunity to be heard concerning said ordinance. Be it further resolved that the clerk be authorized and directed to advertise said ordinance with the notice of introduction thereof being published in the official newspaper according to law. Motion to approve the above resolution.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. DePiero, seconded by Mr. Paluso. Roll call.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Paluso.
Before I vote, I just want to publicly thank Ellen for all of her work that she's done on the contract. It's nice to see that the employees are happy, they're taken care of, and they're safe. And Ellen, you did a nice job, and thank you for
There were
listening
many
to my
others that helped, but
recommendations as well
thank you,
and
yes.
discussions. So,
Thank you.
good job. Yes.
Mr. Stanton.
Yes.
Mr. Valori.
Yes.
Mr. Karifi.
Yes. Ordinance 2015:28, Mr. Paluso.
Ordinance of the Township of Parsippany Troy Hills in the County of Morris, New Jersey, providing for retirement payouts and authorizing a special emergency appropriation of $1,363,585 therefore. Be it resolved that the above ordinance be introduced, read by title, and passed on first reading at the meeting of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany Troy Hills held on November 24, 2015, and that said ordinance be further considered for second reading and final passage at a meeting to be held on December 15, 2015, at 7:30 p.m. prevailing time, or as soon thereafter, and the matter may be reached at the municipal building in the said township, at which time all persons interested shall be given an opportunity to be heard concerning the said ordinance. Be it further resolved that the clerk be authorized and directed to advertise said ordinance with the notice of introduction thereof being published in the official newspaper according to law. Motion to approve the above resolution.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Paluso, seconded by Mr. Valori. Roll call.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Paluso.
Yes.
Mr. Stanton. Mr. Valori.
Yes.
Mr. Karifi.
Yes. This time, entertain a motion to open up the public hearing.
Motion.
Motion made by Mr. Paluso, seconded by Mr. Stanton. Roll call.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Paluso.
Yes.
Mr. Stanton.
Yes.
Mr. Valori.
Yes.
Mr. Karifi.
Yes. If you come up, please state your name and address and sign in. You'll be given 5 minutes.
Okay.
We gotta get it.
It's on? Yes.
Nice.
Okay.
Nice.
Okay. I'm speaking as a private citizen. I am on the Historic Preservation,
State
Julia
your name.
Peterson. I am on the Historic Preservation Advisory Committee, And before I say anything else, I want to say that the reason that those committees, all of them, the environmental, everything, were established was because we recognized that you guys don't have a staff. And we don't want to be your staff, but we do enjoy being your research arm when we're, when we have something. And so I brought with me the file that we've kept on the Forge Pond. Okay. This is our file. It has all the information which this document is based on. Okay, this is a 15-page document that summarizes from beginning to end the whole thing. So I wanted you guys to have these. And I want you to have this picture, which is a current picture of the property. A lot of people don't know where it is. I want to retain this one copy for a minute, and then I think there are 6 copies. So.
Thank you.
And I know that we talked about this before, and got displaced by Waterview last time, but we were ready to kind of speak on this. And I do the question that I have is that when the litigation was settled, within the clause it says within 30 days of the Forge Pond approval date, Forge Pond shall convey to the township deeds for all environmentally sensitive areas on the Forge Pond property. Now, the township did indeed give permission for that development. So my question is, why aren't those deeds signed over to the town? The dam has nothing to do with it. It's 131 sensitive acres. And when that development was approved, there was indeed a wetlands delineation that was submitted with it. So that doesn't make any sense. Anyhow, that's all I have to say. And here's the extra copy.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Peterson. And let me just add to that, because some folks had raised a question as to, what is the environmentally sensitive property, which at the time was kind of ill-defined because it needed to be more specified with the submission of the plans. And there's a letter I found in the file from July 22nd of 2013 from Mr. Garofalo, who represented the applicant in connection with the development. And I'll just read a quick portion of that letter. It was a transmittal letter sending things to the municipality in connection with the application. And in the letter it says, the proposed development entails the subdivision of the Forge Pond property. One component involves a site plan application for the development of 52 townhouse units in conformity with the zoning. No variances are required. The balance of the property is to be conveyed to the township and consists of the wetlands and uplands not utilized in connection with the townhouse development. So, there really should be no
But why?
confusion.
It's a year later, and he still owns
There
it.
should be no confusion as to what property it is that we're talking about. And moreover, the engineer for the applicant testified in ways very similar to Mr. Garofalo's letter. We have been working with the developer through Mr. Garofalo's office, and I anticipate that we will be getting those deeds shortly. I don't have an exact date. There have been a lot of surveying issues, meets and bounds, that sort of thing that has come up. The project is still being constructed. It's not as though units are being sold and so forth. And so 30 days, quite frankly, was
A year ago.
Well, it was also a very aggressive, time frame for the work that needed to be done post-application. But I assure you that, A, the township will receive the deeds to that property, and B, that those deeds will be received before the project is finished, before the construction is finished. And as long as we believe that the applicant is working with us in good faith, then we will work with them in terms of making sure that the descriptions are correct, the surveys, the meets and bounds are all as they should be, and that process is going on. Perhaps not as fast as we would all like, but it is continuing. The key for me is, are they working with us in good faith to do that? I think they are. B is, we certainly need them before that project is finished, before any COs are issued, et cetera, and there's still some time for that, so we're on it and it will be done.
Okay, so the transfer is contingent on the C of Os, or the C of Os are
Well,
contingent
what
on
I'm
the
saying
transfer.
is that it would certainly be my expectation that that property will be conveyed to the township before, and I think long before, any COs would be issued on the project, because frankly, that's part of the settlement, it's part of the approvals, so I don't see how the township could issue a CO unless those deeds were conveyed. And we still have some time for that to happen, so it will.
Okay, well, thank you for answering that question. And we definitely, I don't know, I think I'm a little sentimental about that property because I grew up here, but I really hope that development is at an end in that property.
I understand, and we're on it, and
Or I hope I die before somebody proposes more
well,
development.
we don't hope that
You have
that
about 30
happens.
years.
But I do want to say I apologize if there's any confusion. We hadn't, frankly, it's not something that I had been directly involved in a long time. When you first had mentioned it, I had confused the dam property with the
Yeah, and that's
the
a
Uplands
completely
property, so,
separate issue.
It is absolutely a totally separate issue. So I
Yeah.
hope that provides some clarification.
Although
It
we
certainly
have-
would be helpful if some of the more local press would clarify that, because there was some really inaccurate information that was out there in the public domain in terms of the town losing the 130 acres, and we all know that's not true. And
Well, you know it's not true,
Well,
but we don't know a lot that you know.
I know, but we would hope that the record would be corrected for the public in that
Yeah,
regard.
well, I think it is. But
Thank you.
in this, we have plenty of documentation, so if anybody wants to see it, it's all here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Pat Pataccia, 182 Hawkins Avenue. Just a few questions, follow-ups. Mr. Paluso, did you ever hear from Mr. Driscoll yet?
No.
Did you contact him?
No, I did not.
Are you going to? Yes?
No, I was away last week.
No, I said, are you going to?
Yes,
Okay. And what's happening with the SROs? You had asked for information on it. You asked to have the police chief come to a meeting and explain, using our police department and such.
From speaking to the mayor earlier, we're going to have a offline discussion, and then hopefully we'll discuss it out in the public once we get all the information. I didn't get any of it yet, so
Okay.
I did speak to him prior to the meeting.
Thank you. And thanks about the clerk. That was another question I had. Thank you, Robert. I just got a question on the resolutions 174 and 175. Those are money that, like the grants the government gives us and stuff like that. That's not public money at all. Like,
Yeah, it does two things, and I'm glad you asked it because, these are some of the things we're working. It solves one of our answers to our audit comment. We've addressed our grant monies, and that money stays with us, whatever. It was no.
but it's only grant monies that we're
Grant
talking
monies,
about that
correct.
goes into
Yes.
it. Okay, thank you. And the last thing I would, actually, it's two last things. One of the last things I'd like to talk about is the $3.5 million that we're going to pay to RD Realty. I still don't believe we should be paying for that much because part of it is their buffer. But the question I do have is that now we're going to pay $3.5 million of this, and when we went to the county, they even said that it wasn't really worth it, and they didn't see no reason to give us the money for it. So I'm asking you to rethink that, or go back to RD and try to get the price down, do something. Either that or go back to the county and see if we can get it out of their open space instead of ours. But, I mean, this is foolishness, just going back and forth. Especially since it really helps them out a lot, too. And secondly, the confusion with Forge Pond and all of that started at a meeting here where somebody questioned it, and the comment was made by you, Mr. Inglesino, that we've already went past the time period or something. So that gave everybody the impression we lost it. So that's what started the whole thing. It was a quick question that night, and that was the answer we received, and then everybody got up in arms. But now that we're all clarified, that's great. Thank you.
he's still on with it.
Nicholas Homiak, Lake Hiawatha. I have to agree with Pat, and something was said here at the last town meeting. The mayor's gone again. I wanted to address this to him. He made the statement to the effect that if it wasn't for certain people that showed up at the freeholders meeting for open space, that Parsippany would have gotten the money. Nothing can be further from the truth. I happen to be one of the individuals that was there. It was a bad idea. It is a buffer where RD has created their own hardship, and yet we somehow want to give them $3.5 million of our money because of the hardship that they created. But all of us that were there at the council meeting, we all emphasized, not one of the councilmen or the mayor was there, and there are mayors that do attend these freeholder meetings. All of us emphasized the fact that we wished that the county would please consider giving us money for the whole of the 26 acres. Because when Mayor Barbario that night, when you guys finally voted against the rezoning, and you did the right thing, because no criteria is meant to warrant a rezoning, and he said that he would get that land for open space. There's only one way to interpret that, all 26 acres, and it could have been done. Once again, nothing was more important than that neighborhood, but all you guys last week said the whole town. We had to consider the whole town. No, you don't. The immediate neighborhood, that is the most important thing. There's even, we have long recognized that a zoning board's duty to consider the surrounding neighborhood encompasses more than just consideration of the municipality itself or the immediate vicinity of the structure. It's a New Jersey law, land use law, and it was just applied in Englewood Cliffs to defeat a developer that wanted to put a huge office building to degrade the Palisades, one of our most common historic landmarks, and he thought he could dominate the area. I'm starting to research more and more about this COA thing, and this is the argument why COA was messed up to begin with, and what this developer's remedy, even if it's necessary. We might not even be subject to any of these things, but the chances of that landscape at Waterview falling to a developer's remedy, the more I learn, the more I see that it's impossible. And if you make a decision under duress, it doesn't count. And that's the impression I get. Because if you're doing your due diligence and you're studying what is going on with COA and what they're trying to accomplish, they're not trying to be draconian. They're not trying to say, hey, Parsippany, you have vacant land, and we're going to force you to make public housing. It doesn't say that at all. There's all kinds of things. Some of the things that Mr. DiPiero even alleged that he thought were true about COA in the beginning, because there was no coordination. Nobody knew what was going on. It was all kind of assumptions made. It was one of the worst things that ever happened, and it stemmed from prejudice about a community that was living for hundreds of years in South Jersey, gentrification, get out of here. And they happen to be, a minority. But nobody has the right to say anybody that you don't have the right to live somewhere that you've been living. But number one, COA is an obligation. It's not a threat. So RD they're in bad faith. And we shouldn't give them $3.5 million for a buffer zone.
30
and
seconds.
I have to go back to, if you guys are interested, I'm going to leave it here. If we were in conformance, which we can be, this is an active memorandum of understanding between the Highlands and COA. And if we were in conformance, we'd have a lot of help settling any kind of matter, any kind of bully that came along, like RD or anybody else, the difference between the balance between where COA's got to be and saving our natural resources. We could be part of this, but we're not. This, I recommend you guys to read it. You can find it on the internet. It'll give you an education about what's going on with COA and the expectations. But without knowing these things, can't throw in the towel because RD puts a gun to your head. It's just not the right thing to do. But and here, I'm going to leave this for you again too. The tax rateable thing, it don't work, guys. This is the study that was in Morris County. I think I left it. I'm going to leave it again. So, and if one of you can guarantee me that you'll get this on the line, or if you want me to leave it here, because it's not doing me any good. You guys are the honchos.
Nick, as luck would have it, they all got a package today about COA, all that information. I made sure they had
Is it the Housing Opportunity Task Force finding and recommendations?
And what was the date on that?
This is March 19, 2010, but
believe-
it's still relevant.
Yes,
It is
no, I
very
believe-
relevant, very relevant.
I think
And
there's some stuff from Ed Buzak with regard to, with the
We have a
March date,
March
and then
package here.
yeah, all right.
Give it to-
And these are questions when the Highlands came, nobody ever asked. Mr. Paluso, you said a job, after all, is a job. And I have to say to you, a neighborhood is a neighborhood. And we shouldn't sell that out. That's a beautiful landscape.
Go home,
You
yeah,
take
time's
it
up.
away.
I agree.
And, all right, so, are you interested in this stuff?
Yeah, sure. If you can leave,
Oh,
can
yeah,
you
leave
leave a
it right-
copy of
right
that
with the clerk,
with
yeah.
Nora,
One
please?
one other thing I wanted to say.
Time's
I
up.
can't recall it, but
Your-
time's up.
time's up.
Perfect.
Nick, if I may say, when you brought up the point about, that neighborhood, and I stated at our last meeting, I spoke to well over 100 residents in the town, well over 100. And a lot of the residents that I did speak to were from that neighborhood as well. And I would have to say maybe all but one or two, so probably 95% or higher, said given the two options, the development that we were able to negotiate, they would prefer over getting 660 or 500 potentially apartments. So I did speak to a lot of residents in that neighborhood, and all but one or two did state, given the choice, they'd rather have the development that we were able to negotiate versus getting stuck with 600 apartments.
Councilman, look at the choice.
Well, I agree. I agree with you. But when you said that neighborhood instead of asking other, but I did ask a lot of people from that neighborhood, but I did ask other people as well throughout the town because I wanted to do my due diligence and I represent the entire town, not just that area. But I did get a consensus from everywhere, but I did get a lot of people from that neighborhood. So I just wanted to let you know that.
They're bluffing, and I thought we had the royal flush. Mr. Inglesino said we had the royal flush. And that land is not suitable for public housing. It can be proven. That's all I have to say. Anyway, this is where we could
Thank you.
be
Can you give that to?
Yeah, we'll give this all to
Same
her.
thing again.
Thank you. Yeah.
And I can't remember what else I was going to say. My time's up.
Sure, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nick.
Thank you.
See no one else come forward, entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Make a motion?
Motion made by Mr. Valori, seconded by Mr. Stanton. Roll call.
Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Mr. Paluso?
Yes.
Mr. Stanton?
Yes.
Mr. Valori?
Yes.
Mr. Karifi?
Yes. Before I entertain a motion to close the meeting, I would just like to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving from all of us to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, at this time, entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Make a motion?
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Valori, seconded by Mr. Paluso. Roll call.
Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Mr. Paluso?
Yes.
Mr. Stanton?
Yes.
Mr. Valori?
Yes.
Mr. Karifi?
Yes. Good night, everyone.
Be safe for the family. Thanks.
yeah, I'll see you tomorrow.
Have a good one.
Go down tonight?